A lesson Ryan Day learned from last year's quarterback competition that he doesn't want to repeat in this current offseason.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Feel-Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, here on Friday, May 17th in the year 2024. I am your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. During today's show, it's my guy, our guy, Jeff Hunt, of the Jeff Needs Sports Podcast, the Off the Ball Network, part of the OG3. And Jeff and I are here, and every time, it's like the past two times Jeff and I have gotten together, I give him a topic, and then the world gives me another topic, and we kind of got to shift things on the fly because Ryan Day was recently on 97.1 The Fan and left us with this quote. I think the way things turned out last year, it kind of went into the first couple of games of the season. That's not ideal. I wouldn't like to do that again this year, end quote. That is Day talking about the quarterback competition from last year, going to the first couple of games of the regular season, and him not wanting to repeat that thing in 2024. And Jeff, I agree, that was not approved by me or you, and I know we're not approving decisions, but neither one of us like that. I guarantee a lot of coaches didn't like that, and that shouldn't be what happens in this upcoming season.
Yeah, it was terrible. And what makes part of this quote a little more disheartening as a fan is that we said that going into the season. But, Jay sat here, Jeff sat here and said, you know what? This is probably smoke and mirrors. There's probably a guy, this is coach speak. He's got somebody and I think the reason we all think that Ryan Day was kind of, playing possum is that we all thought it was going to be McCord going into the season. And then when it was, we're like, see, there was nothing to it. But now it really sounds like that was a quarterback competition going into the first game of the season, which, in retrospect is a scary proposition when you have, and again, we talk about this week after week. This isn't like an upstart college football team trying to figure it out with a couple of dudes. Like, this is Ohio State football who was coming off, CJ Stroud and Fields and, all these guys to get into the first weeks of the season when you have Notre Dame coming up that soon in the season and know that your season is on the line and to be having a competition. And I don't think, now that we've watched both quarterbacks play, I know Brown's still there and apparently could still be the starter this year. But like after we saw him play last year, I don't think we thought he was deciding between the two great, like he couldn't decide. This is like somebody's got to do it. So it was really concerning. And I think we saw it as the season started going on. We started realizing like, oh, this could be trouble. And obviously at the end of the season, the biggest hole wound up being quarterback and all that. But it always bothered me because like that's your one job as a coach from spring is to get your squad together and then teach them how to play football. And if you've got to get a quarterback ready, you're supposed to be the quarterback guy, get a quarterback guy. So the fact that he let us, behind the curtain a little bit, that it actually was a quarterback competition deeply concerns me in this offseason when we apparently have 4 contestants, to say the least, and honestly 5. So competition's great. To what is it? Steel sharpens steel, whatever you want to say. Yeah. But now, man, we need a squad right now. You need to tell me who's going to be on the field game 1. This is a national championship or bust season. So I would hope that Ryan Day is not planning on having a quarterback competition go past, I don't know, June.
Some of you guys heard me laughing, and those of you watching on YouTube saw that as well. I'm only laughing because when you say that there are 4 guys that are running to be a quarterback, that kind of concerns me, Jeff. And I'm only saying it concerns me. You have a guy that comes in from Kansas State and Will Howard, who many people thought was a surefire, clear-cut guy to be QB1. All of a sudden, that's not the case. And you got Julian Sand come in from Alabama. I believe he was a true freshman, and he's in the mix of it. You got Lincoln Keenholz only at Ohio State 1 year. He's in the mix, and Devin Brown's still here. And y'all, among the people that I talk to about Ohio State football, it's a very small group of people that I do believe Jeff Hunt is in. He knows he is. I don't think any of us think Devin Brown's a guy. And it's not a knock on Devin Brown. as far as this, like him being a future starter potentially at Ohio State. It's just right now he is not ready. And now the fact that we know last year there was a quarterback battle and Brown was in the mix, and we saw what we got from McCord. I think everybody should be a little concerned about the quarterback position because it's not so much what Fields did or what Stroud did or what Haskins did. Yeah, they did otherworldly things. It's simply the fact that, do you believe you have a quarterback in a 16-game season can have 3,500 to 4,000 passing yards and 30 to 35 passing touchdowns? Probably not. Like, that's where we are right now, Jeff. Like, your concern is, can these guys sling the rock all over the yard and do what's needed for them to win, for the Buckeyes to win? I don't think so. And that concerns me because this is Ohio State. Your players are saying this is a national championship or bust season. Not me, not Jeff. We're saying exactly what's being said in-house. And if that's the case, and we're having concerns about the quarterbacks, and I think inside the quarterback room and the offense, they may know what guys do. I don't know how that translates to the field. Only one I know is Will Howard, and Will Howard has not shown me he has another level to go in college football to be a quarterback. So I am concerned. I'm glad Day is not going and letting this thing go out to the regular season, but I'm also a little concerned that he's letting this thing drag out as long as he has.
Yeah. And the thing, I know Ryan Day doesn't have to call us and tell us what's going on or whatever, but this is the truth of it. Is what I really don't want to see is, like, I don't want to see, I would rather him come out. It's just me personally. I would rather see Day come out and say, that won't happen again. We will have our quarterback moving forward at the beginning of whatever date, whatever the next big date is. We will have a guy. I want him to say stuff like, and it doesn't even matter if his players believe it or not. I'm talking about, like, this is what needs to come out and be like, if a guy needs a transfer, then he doesn't want to be on the team, we'll move on. I need all this. And it's always this constant, like, well, I don't want to do that again. Like, this dude always talks like he's learning on the fly. I'm like, man, you ain't a plumber. You're not an apprentice. Like, the university, the fans, because the fans are part of this now. People can say what they want, but NIL is part fan funded,
Correct.
Mostly fan funded. Even if it's a booster, it's still a fan. So, like, everybody's invested now, Ryan. So, like, we need you to come out and say, like, we're pretty I don't lie to us. We're pretty sure we got a guy. Like, we're pretty sure we got our guy. Obviously, I'm not going to tell everybody and ruin our offseason or give anybody any hints, but, like, we got or we got a couple dogs in there. Last year it was like, a couple good quarterbacks. I don't know. We'll see. But then we found out it was true. And that was really upsetting. Like, I would feel better, all around if I felt that he's not telling the truth. I'm worried that he is telling the truth. Is what I'm worried, is that he's like, we're going to not have the battle linger into, the first day, but we'll see. But again, that's just Ryan Day's mannerisms. That's what he does. That's how he talks. I think if you ask him, he probably thought he could get it done with McCord last year, and I don't know that he had another option, which is that's a problem for last year's Ryan Day that me and you have beaten to death on this episode of why, if he wasn't the guy, why didn't you have a guy? We think he's got a couple guys this year at least. So he's definitely ahead of last year as far as the talent in the room. It looks like he's got the future in the room. I mean, everything's good, but he's put himself in a position where, like, that's fine, but tell me how we're going to win a national championship. Like, tell me how you fixed it, Ryan. Tell me what you did different, not you don't want to do it again as if you can't stop it. Tell me what you did different. Tell me, hey, me and Chip got together. We're picking our guy and we're moving forward and we're going to kick some tail. Tell me something like that. Like, quit telling me about these little mistakes you made. And, like, that's weird. Like, when I go back to my boss and I'm like, whoa, you wouldn't believe I sprayed myself with water this time. I won't do that again. No, we're past that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Jeff, there's a thought in my head that I've had for a while. The Will Howard will not only start the first game for the Buckeyes, he'll start multiple games, potentially the entire season for Ohio State in the fall. I'll tell you why next. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. I know we're in the midst of the second round of the NBA playoffs. Unfortunately, the Cavs have been knocked out, but Maybe you're in a market or in an area where there is a playoff series still going on and you're not sure if the next game is going to be played or not. You find out it's going to be. The series is extended. Looking to find last-minute tickets to that game? Gametime is your place to accomplish that goal. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And they also have the best service in Central Ohio. Everything you need for in-home and backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Ahasson, Canada, Billiards, and more. And the grills, whether you like charcoal or gas or wood-fired, Billiards Plus has a perfect setup for all grillers. They are family-owned and operated, and when you talk to the staff at Billiards Plus, you know you're talking to an expert who won't steer you wrong. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus, visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. A free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jeff, when I look at this quarterback room and the players that are in here, the youngsters in Sayan and Aaron Nolan, talented, Sayan more talented than Nolan, but I don't think he has enough right now to be a starter for Ohio State, especially earlier in the year when everybody's healthy.
Right.
When it comes to Keaton Holds and Devin Brown, Keaton Holds is still learning the process, learning college football, so I don't think he's ready. Devin Brown, what we have seen has not been eye-opening enough to me to say, hey, he's QB1 right now. I think in my mind, I think a lot of people's minds, Will Howard is not only going to be the day one starter, but will start, let's just say the entire season. If everybody stays healthy, he'll start the entire season at quarterback. Most experience. He's already won a conference title. He's already been battle-tested. And I do believe Chip Kelly is going to do a great job of coaching this young man up to not only be a better quarterback in college, but to be an NFL draft pick when he gets at the end of the season, when he declares for the NFL draft. I think the Chip Kelly and Will Howard combination and alterations of the offense fit Will Howard very well. And I think Will Howard will flourish and have the best season of his collegiate career under Chip Kelly as the Chip Kelly leads the Buckeyes offense. I got Will Howard as a starting quarterback. I don't know what your thoughts are. This wasn't planned, guys. We're just going off the cuff. But, Jeff, I got Will Howard starting for the Buckeyes in the fall, being QB1 and really doing a phenomenal job of orchestrating the Buckeyes offense.
Yeah, you said it perfectly, man. We'll skip forward to everything you just said. I 100% agree with, and something I'll add to it, something that we've touched on earlier shows. You guys come back and listen to our quarterback conversations. I also believe though that whoever QB2 is, which it feels like right now is Sailing, but it feels like they're going to play because of what we said about the length of the schedule. At this point we're assuming we're going to the playoffs, because if not, we don't even need to talk about that world. So we're just assuming we're playing extra games. We don't want to have
that conversation right now.
Yeah, we're assuming
it's the spring. We don't want to have those kind of conversations. Jeff will probably be on here if Ohio State does not make the playoff, and y'all will see Jeff and I lose our minds.
Yeah, so we're assuming they're playing extra games. We're assuming that we're planning for a an NFL type season. So I think that QB2 is important. You and Mo covered this greatly. So everybody go back to listen to Jay and Mo talk about how to handle the quarterback room. But I think that we see QB2 honestly play 25% of the season.
Yes.
Because Howard's not trying to go to the NFL because of stats. He's not going to go to the NFL and be a gunslinger like CJ Stroud was. He's just not made that way. Right. So you're going to be able to, not to bring it up, but there's a quarterback that got drafted high in the NFL this year that barely threw passes some games. So Howard's going to go that route. He's not going to go like arm talent route. So I think you're going to get him out early. You're going to get QB2 in there to play meaningful snaps and teach him how to be a real quarterback that you may need for the stretch run. So I honestly think I'm not saying the dreaded 2 quarterback system. This isn't can't decide, so we play them both. This is we got a starter and we've got a great backup that we're going to teach to be a quarterback, because if we need him, he's going to be there. So I really believe it's going to be a 75-25 season. It's going to be unique, but this is the first year that's a lot of teams are going to do this too, by the way. Ohio State's not going to be the only team to do this, but I really believe that's what's going to happen. I don't think you're going to see Howard in, even if it's just a manageable lead. I think you need to be able to have a QB2 in and close it out and put up some stats. I wouldn't be surprised to see our QB2 have a decent season by himself.
I wouldn't either, Jeff. There's a thought in my head, and I've heard it from somewhere else, where if you're starting a seasoned guy or a guy who's done some good things in college football, and your backup's going to be is a true freshman, people want to compare it to Clemson, where it was Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence. I don't think it's going to be the same situation. I truly don't. I know what Kelly Bryant did. I think he won the national championship the year before. Trevor Lawrence was a freshman. I think game 5, Trevor Lawrence took over. And I think Clemson won a natty that year. I forget exactly
Bryant lost in the playoffs to Alabama. That was one of the Alabama. That was after the year after Watson won it. And then Bryant got benched the next season, and then Lawrence took him to the championship as a freshman.
And so that combination of that dynamic, I don't think it's going to be the same thing where one guy gets benched and the new guy comes in and just completely takes over. I don't see that happening. I think Day and Chip Kelly realize Will Howard's experience and seeing a lot of different defenses and coverages when he was in the Big 12. I think that's very, very valuable, especially when you have 4 new schools coming into the Big 10 from the West Coast, from the Pac-12. Oregon plays a Big Ten style of brand of football, being very, very physical. But also you got USC, you got UCLA, you got Washington, who all possess different threats and will have different schemes and looks that maybe Ohio State didn't see last year or the year before. But you have Will Howard's experience, and I do believe that experience speaks volumes about him. And I know I kind of knocked some other quarterbacks earlier. Will Howard starting is not a knock on the other guys. It's just Will Howard winning the job and being the best option. Yeah. This is not people saying, well, these guys can't throw, these guys can't read. This is not anything at all. We can break it down. We can dive into that later. But this is going to be simply Will Howard won the job because he was the best option and he won the competition. That's all. If you want to go in a different route in the conversation, great. Like, you can be our guest. But I truly believe Will Howard will win the competition. And we'll see against Iowa, against Oregon, truly what he's made of. And Jeff, I believe he's ready for those big tests.
I do too. I was a fan. I was a fan of the move. I got to trust a lot of people that, that went out and made the moves in the portal to get this guy. I watched him play a decent amount. So I have actually, watched him play. I'm not sitting there, talking out of my rear end. I like the kid. I was happy with the pick. And to me, we've talked about this. I love the way the QB situation set up. It's a perfect situation. Actually, I think that Clemson situation is a decent comparison, except for, we don't think that, like, I'm with you. I don't think that's going to happen because they don't have, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know how good Nolan's going to look or one of these guys. I hope that it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah.
I believe that might have even been a year where Clemson lost to Syracuse in one of those upset weird games that they did. But regardless, we don't perceive that. And this is what I would say, Buckeye Nation, like somebody that went through the Tressel era. These games might look a little different. Yeah. We may have more faith in the defense than we used to. They played a little closer to the vest, if you get what I'm saying. And so like a 21-point lead may mean more than it used to, as to where for years we were trained to be so nervous if we didn't have 35 points on the board because our defense, if we think we can win a national championship, it's because we have a great defense. So if we have a great defense, you're up 21 going to the fourth quarter. When we see Alabama do that, Jay, none of us look at the bottom line, see Alabama up 21 and are nervous at all.
Correct.
But when we're as a fan of a team, you're like, no matter what, I'm nervous, and I'm guilty. We're gonna have to get used to seeing it's going to be a little closer, but we're assuming just like Iowa. Iowa does not worry about being up 7 because they think they can hold that lead.
Correct.
So you might see a more conservative play calling, grind it out, run the clock off the ball, kind of situation, that's fine because we're trying to get to the promised land. This is no more like second place trophies and have a great Rose Bowl. No, that's got to stop. This is about getting a W and moving on, keeping everybody healthy as you can.
CBS Sports recently released their ranking of college football coaches. And I ain't gonna lie to you, y'all. I am shocked when I saw where Ryan Day fell on this list. I'll tell you why next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It's winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Simply visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. Jeff, I see your face. I wish I saw your face when I sent this text to you earlier today discussing the topic when this was released. I'm going to go 10 through 1 here really quickly.
Okay.
Some of you might be like, Jay, why are you shocked? Well, I'll tell you here in a second. We ain't got much time to dive into and do a lengthy explanation of where our thoughts are with this, with it being the end of the show. But 10 through 1, CBS Sports college football rankings. This is a compilation of all the writers at CBS Sports. Tom Fornelli's name, I do believe, is at the top of this article. So don't go to Tom Fornelli's mentions and blow them up. He's just the messenger writing the explanations. 10 through 1. CBS Sports rankings of the best college football coaches in the country. 10, Lincoln Riley. Number 9, Dan Lanning at Oregon. Number 8, Mike Norvell at Florida State. Number 7, Kalen DeBoer taking over for Saban at Alabama. Number 6, Kyle Whittingham at Utah. Seems like he's been there my entire lifetime. I know it's not true, but it seems like that. Number 5, Steve Sarkisian at Texas. Number 4, Brian Kelly at LSU. 3, Dabo. No, I know a lot of y'all can't stand him. 2, Ryan Day. Number 1, Kirby Smart. Jeff, when I look at this list, I am shocked because never in my life did I think Ryan Day is the second best coach in the sport. But I agree. Based off this list here and based off where the guys are in the top 10, I would reshuffle some of the top 10 maybe a little bit. But I'm not putting Brian Kelly or Dabo above Ryan Day based off what we've seen over the past few years. But Day at number 2? I think you could flip Day and Dabo very interchangeably and not have a problem. But they put Day here at 2, Kirby at 1. I have no complaint.
Well, here's a confusion about this list. First of all, my immediate reaction was, what are you thinking? Like CBS,
Yes.
why are you clickbaiting, whatever? And then, so I did read the explanations. I recommend everybody go through and read the explanations. But what I got confused on here, and especially we'll start with just Dabo versus Day. So if you're going to tell me why Day is number 2, which is because of how successful he's been in the offseason with the new rules and NIL and the portal and all that, not to mention on the field's been really good. Well, then you can't have Dabo at 3, who has not evolved at all in this.
No.
And his team has gotten worse every year because he hasn't. So yes, all time Dabo's has done a fantastic job. You can't take any of that away. But as of right now, nobody's signing up to have Dabo coach your program because he doesn't coach a modern program. And that's the way he wants to do it. It's great. So, and then if you're going to say, well, X's and O's, well, if you're going to do X's and O's, then Ryan Day can't be at the top because we very seldom see him out coach the other team. Very, very, very seldom see him out coach the other team. Most of the time he has either lost or struggled against what we call a better X's and O's coach. So it feels like Day got a lot of credit for his offseason, the NIL, as to where someone that knows Ohio State, lives Ohio State, eats, sleeps, breathes Ohio State. I know the advantages an Ohio State coach has. So I do I feel that Lanning could be just as good at Ohio State? Yep. I think he could step in right now. So, and I know Day's done, and has had some big games, but so I just can't figure out how they decided like all that. And then, like say, Kelly is a weird one for me because sometimes I'm like, man, he's a really good coach. But then I watched him sometimes at Notre Dame and I'm like, man, he's wasted a ton of talent. I think 4 is probably too high for Kelly because I think if you ask honestly an LSU fan, like you could pick your coach, I don't think he's the 4th pick. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's some other guys. Now, see, like then you got a guy like if you're looking at current, I like how Lanning coaches because he does both. His team plays well and he does all the NIL stuff. I think they have the highest maybe transfer portal guys this year, like all these things. Like he's completely coaching modern NCAA, EA Sports football, so to speak. So I like Lanning at 9. I think it's a little low. The one probably that jumps out real quick, I know we're here to talk about Day, but it's like DeBoer. So you got credit for going to Alabama is what this feels like. You haven't coached a game in Alabama. He might be terrible. He might not, but he might be terrible. And I just don't really know. I mean, great year at Washington, a couple really good years at Washington. I do think you're a good coach, but like, I don't know where all the credit came from. After we've seen what Lanning's done, we've seen, what Kelly did at LSU. We've seen what Day has done, taking over Ohio State. I give Day full credit, taking over Ohio State, barely missing a beat, maybe a little hiccup.
Yeah.
I think we agree that Smart number one. There's really no argument. Georgia's gonna, be ranked in the top 2 or 3 for probably the rest of his career. So there's a couple guys on the list real quick. I know you want to go back and forth here, but that jumped out. Leopold from Kansas at 12. If we're talking about how you coach football games, that was one of the best coaches I saw last year with that Kansas team. So, but I understand. But then I'm like, well, I don't know if he's at Ohio State. He's great. He's great at Ohio State immediately. So again, I think Day got a lot of credit for where he's at, but I guess, hey, you can't apologize for that because you can screw it up at these big schools. We've seen it.
Here's the weird thing is that they got Lincoln Riley at 10, and I find it weird because homie literally went to the West Coast, did the same exact thing, and he dropped 6 spots. Did the same thing at Oklahoma. The same thing, same offense, same defense. Everything's the same. But because he goes from Oklahoma to USC, which USC is a better, almost on the same tier of brands in the sport, all of a sudden he go to Southern California and he drops 6 spots. That's very confusing.
He struggled with the best quarterback in the country. The Riley one I don't get because I don't see it. Okay, if you're going to tell me you're a great recruiter of quarterbacks and your offense is kind of fun, but if I'm saying if you want to go for best offensive coordinator, at least we can talk about it. Best coach.
Yeah.
Your defense is terrible. Your offensive line is confused. You don't win big games. I mean, I understand you should have made the playoffs 2 years ago. But if we're going to go by that, then again, these other guys should be up there, Dan Lanning and all. So it's really confusing how they decided what mattered on this list. There's a guy at the bottom too, a couple of them, Stoops for Kentucky, and Campbell for Iowa State. I just want to shout out, your programs are different. It's not the most important thing in your state and all these. You would talk about 2 great football coaches that are ranked 20 and 25th. They can, if they show up in Columbus tomorrow, we're fine. So it's it's an interesting list. It's a talking point. I love the conversation, but then just like Jay said, once I start ranking them, they don't drop that far.
No.
So I don't know. The Dabo Swinney thing just baffles me. I guess I don't know what we're doing here with coaches.
Was he at 2 national championships? I've looked at these lists for the past
his
few
resume.
years.
Well, then if that's true, then Day should be 10.
You're correct. I don't know. You're correct. If it's resume based, his resume, Kelly and Dabo, I believe their resumes keep them so high.
Yeah.
But even if you take away Jaden Daniels from last year winning the Heisman, if you take him away, I don't think Kelly's in the top 5. I'm being honest with you. I truly don't.
No.
I think all of these coaches 2 through 10 have flaws. Some of them are bigger than others, but Day has his own flaws. We talk about them all the time. Jeff, here in my mind, as we're talking about this coaching ranking, you made a comment about Kirby Smart and where Georgia will be ranked from now until he retires or leaves Athens. I don't really see a situation where the way things are currently gone at those schools, if they stayed the same, that Ryan Day in Ohio State would be ranked higher in a preseason poll, or Ryan Day would be ranked higher than Kirby Smart in a coach's poll. I don't see that. I don't see it at all. Some of y'all have heard me say on this show recently, I even said it yesterday, I still believe Georgia is a better football team than Ohio State. I said it last year. I'll say it again. And I think the thing is, it goes to recruiting, goes to NIL, but it also goes to the physicality and fundamentals.
Yes.
And they do something down there with their strength and conditioning program. Ohio State has gotten better, or they still getting a lot of guys hurt. Yeah. I don't know what the difference is, but buddy, something tells me that if things stay the same, we're not having a conversation about Day taking over and being the best coach in the sport over Kirby. It's Kirby is the new Saban, and Day, can't get over the hump.
No, another thing I thought of, and this always winds up us picking on Ryan Day. I don't know how else to do it. Like, where's he on this list if they don't pull out that game against Notre Dame? That easily could have went the other way. Like, there's no way we're having the same conversation. Like, it's just if you, I just like I don't know what to do with the information of like that I have. Like, we talked about it earlier in the show. He failed at prepping quarterbacks. He failed at prepping second string players. He failed at organizing this and organizing that. It's just, he all of these things that these other coaches make the best of the situation. It's crazy. Even Ferentz at 18, I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? Because you can't tell me Kirk Ferentz is a better football coach than Matt Campbell.
No,
it's just
no,
or it's just crazy. So I know, not to pick on Day, he's done a great job. I guess if you're going to give so much credit to the team that's on the field rather than boosters and recruiters and all these different things, and great. And if he pulls it off this year, I'll sit here, right? I'm happy to sit here next year at this time and go, I can't believe national championship winner Ryan Day, is prove me wrong, whatever. Happy to do it.
Jeff, it's always been fun having you on the show. Wish
Absolutely,
you could do it a little bit longer on this topic. No YouTube exclusive, little bonus extra content today. No, that'll be a down the road thing. Maybe the next time Jeff and I get together on the show, we'll have some extra content for you. That's YouTube exclusive. Make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Buckeyes YouTube page. Hit that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. And looking ahead to the fall, Jeff and Mo will be on the show quite a bit. And if we get a postcast or two, if Mo is able to, we'll be right after live on YouTube reacting to the Buckeyes game. Hopefully it's a win, but we'll see what comes down the road. You can follow Jeff on X at jhunt006. You can follow me on the same platform, jstevens07. Send all emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's a Feel Good Friday, recording on a Wednesday. Hope you guys are getting ready to enjoy the weather, to get outside with your family and friends. It's baseball season. NBA playoffs are here. So much good stuff going on. Let's enjoy this time of year. Go Bucks.